Hey, my name is Beb. Damn, it feels like it's not been long enough since I'm back here. 4 more Tomb Raiders. Now, to be fair, I know all the good content is in suffering and misery. I watch people that do that, people that I watch talk about it, and I'm fully aware that that is the case. So I'm ready to deliver more of that.
Psych? These games fucking rock! I have been delivered from tribulation. Through the glory of the good Lord Crystal Dynamics, it has saved me from perdition, and I will spread them. Oh shit!
Oh, my fucking head. I think I got so excited to actually enjoy one of these games, I temporarily became evangelical. That doesn't happen too often, but let's get this shit out of the way. Let's get into the meat of it for real, and starting with Tomb Raider Legend. For the first time in a Tomb Raider game, I actually have to switch over to mouse and keyboard. There's too many, fucking commands and things not to. And the final evolution of the series, for at least what I'm tangling with here, has finally arrived. Like all the games, it has mechanics I try not to care about. Who gives a shit? But this is the first time I don't really have drastic complaints about the moment-to-moment. Dear God, it feels like I tricked Atlas into putting the world back on his shoulders. One of the first times in the series I actually paid attention to what was going on because I didn't have to constantly readjust my brain to not blow out of the back of my skull. Man, it does pay off. In Legend, you're introduced to the series' first mommy issues. When you accidentally get your mom banished to magical hell by fucking with random artifacts. Years later, Lara picks up the trail of that incident while trying to do something else entirely, competing with Amanda, a friend that she thought drowned and is now back from the dead for revenge. I'm being a little more specific both because it'll be important later, but also because despite the cheese it has at times, I actually bought into the world. Amanda's rage and anger at being left behind, Lara's desperation to figure out what the fuck was going on, and a wider mercenary syndicate under Amanda, people who are moving pieces of ancient tech that some of them understand as pieces of Excalibur and some of them don't. They all do it for their own ends, and why people act makes sense to me. I was way more locked in than I was for fucking Kurt or whatever the fuck 4 was about. Mechanics wise, it feels a lot like a proto-Uncharted or Assassin's Creed. Smoother climbing, nicer movement generally. The combat is still a little wonky, but with the dual changes of a lock-on system that doesn't absolutely suck balls, and having a mouse to swing the camera more easily, I rarely had issues with any combat encounter that was just like a straightforward fight. Some of the more complex ones I still struggled with here and there. God, it does feel so good not to have to just vent pure venom about how unpleasant it is to touch the controller. I didn't even have to patch these games, which was so nice. So there's another level of friction that's just totally removed. The game ends full circle. We're returning to where Amanda almost died. You mowed down a bunch of mercenaries before the surprise reveal that the mommy issues will continue until morale improves. Now, having beaten Amanda's goth mode ass and having a new goal, we leave Legend on a cliffhanger, honestly. So what'll happen next? Just kidding, we're actually going back into the past with Tomb Raider Anniversary. This is a straight remake of the first game with Crystal Dynamics' actual functioning engine. They also truncated a lot of levels, smoothed out the terrible ass boss fights. It does do so with QuickTime events, which some people take a lot of umbrage with, but they don't really bother me personally. I'm a big defender of Azura's Wrath, and that game is like 50% QuickTime events. The real treat that I actually like is that in this one, I also know what the fuck is going on. Lara gets on the trail of Atlantean artifacts and crosses paths with Natla, an exiled Atlantean leader who's trying to end the world and start a new age. Her dumbass minions are better developed than last time, as opposed to just kind of showing up at complete random, and are mainly handled via QuickTime events, which is honestly a blessing. More on Natla later, she'll come up again. Another change from the last game to this that actually matters is the new save system. You can save wherever, but when you load in, it'll grab the nearest checkpoint, not exactly where you were, like how it used to work. This is also true at Legend, but with the game's pretty short runtime, it didn't matter as much. Some of the sections I got to skip in the original game by saving between platforms, I now had to actually learn and execute in a string. And because the controls are nice, I didn't really mind that much. The only times it became a big problem was specifically grapple swings on right angle corners, but that was kind of an edge case. I was surprised with how much of the streamlining of the game really opened it up for me and helped me appreciate it. Saving big fights with a few showy creatures, T-Rex, the half meat man thing, instead of every enemy just being variable sizes of bullet sponge. At the end though, you still beat Natla's ass and drop a column on her, taking you out of the ruins of the Atlantean temple and towards a somewhat more troubled Lara's journey. It does feel like there's more connective tissue than previous games, very intentionally so, and so I feel encouraged to pay attention. Who would have known? A story that I care about and just doesn't want to make me do terrible crimes. Now, let's get to the end of the third trilogy with Tomb Raider Underworld. This one is honestly the culmination of Anniversary and Legend. It feels more fleshed out, in mostly ways I like. Lara is hunting for a way into Avalon to try and not share a parent count with Bruce Wayne, finding herself hamstrung by the machinations of Amanda, who didn't learn shit from getting her ass beat last time, and the shocking return of Natla, who somehow survived Anniversary. It's not super clear, but she was also, frozen in a crystal for hundreds of years, so I get it. I was so invested at this point that when Natla showed back up, her reveal made me pop off. It was really cool. You see both villains working together and using each other, trying to find the best time to backstab them on the way to get what they want. I gave a fuck. I actually wanted to see where it goes. And who does it go places? You go to massive ancient temples with plenty of ways to interact and move forward. The set pieces continue to impress. It's hard not to see this as the mountaintop, one of the hardest climbs, ends on a game that I actually enjoy. It's wild, I wasn't expecting that, and I almost feel like I'm so tapped out of words to talk about Lara's misadventures, I feel like I hit the fucking peak and I'm out of gas. Lara doesn't really get a happy ending, though. Her mother died on the other side of a portal to an Atlantean superweapon, her father got himself killed chasing her, and she does save the world. I also gotta address a couple things. There exists a pair of Xbox exclusive DLCs for this game that continue the story. Mostly one where a doppelganger made by Natla to kill Lara gets the freedom to go rogue and kill her master. They're interesting and they're kind of cool continuations as setup, but I couldn't find a way to get them to function on my computer that I felt like was an acceptable level of risk, and I'm sure shit not buying an Xbox 360 to try to make it happen, so I did skip them, but I did look at them at least to see what was going on. It feels like this game was set up for more. Like there was meant to be at least a fourth game in the series. What did we get instead? Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light is such a left field entry they didn't even call it Tomb Raider, and I feel like that's pretty fair. It isn't Tomb Raider when you put the controller in your hand. It feels fundamentally different, so let me show you why that is. Guardian of Light is an isometric twin-stick shooter with platforming elements and a distinctly Aztec flair. There's technically two player characters, Lara and an Aztec warrior named Totek, but I mostly played solo as Lara. There's a ton of RPG elements, including guns, stat boosters, and character upgrades, all of which I needed to grab since this game actually has achievements, so based on my own rules I'm required to 100% it. It wasn't much of an issue, to be honest. None of these 4 games have been longer than 12 hours. I had a lot of fun. The game feels pretty accessible and bite-sized. You do one run to get all the stuff, you do one run to go at top speed. It feels the right amount of challenging, I guess, is how I'd put it. In a strange, full circle moment, There's a DLC option to play as Kain and Raziel from the Soul Reaver series, and I haven't seen Kain since fucking March. There's also a different Kain along with Lynch from Kain and Lynch, the worst mascots Eidos won't let die in a gutter for some reason. Mostly though, you'll find everything if you're thorough, and the fast, kind of very flowy, reactive gameplay feels real nice and real snappy. I didn't really struggle at all. The multiplayer was a little different. You kind of get nerfed from solo mode where you have all the abilities because there's 2 players, so you interact differently. It was a little chaotic, but mostly it doesn't require a ton of multiplayer play. I think we played like 2 levels and we got it. Although, I'll put this in here. Look at this. This motherfucker murdered me. I was like, oh, we're done. We can just leave. And he just rips me into the pit and then jumps in. What the fuck, man? That's not cool. You did this. Look at this. You did this to me. Oh, sorry. I'm just being petty. But that's all. That's all of them. I've gone through 10 Tomb Raiders. So you might be thinking, now what? Well, if you remember, way back at the start of this Insanity Vanity project, there's one more hurdle for the year now. And it is a fucking beast.
All of you freaks! Mutations! Hold it! You're freaks! I'm a man. The last man.
Pillars of Eternity is probably the only thing I'm going to be playing for the next month. Let's see how deep my boys at Obsidian can cut me. Later.